everyone. I wanted to talk today about why I think it's important that we talk about our mental health. I think that there's so much really good coverage now about mental health. It's very much out there, which is fantastic. But I think we're still in a place where it's not as easy to understand ourselves or to talk about our mental health as it is, say, our physical health. I know that's something that I really struggled with. I was diagnosed with depression last year. And looking back, I think that's something that I was living with and struggling with for quite a number of years without maybe really realizing what it was. And over time, that was getting progressively worse to the point where it was getting pretty unbearable, and I couldn't see a way out of it. And yet, I wasn't talking to anybody about it. I wasn't trying to get any help. I was just, muddling along. And it took me breaking down in one of our management meetings for it to be out there and for me to start to get help. And what really struck me in that moment was just how quickly people showed how much they cared, how much they wanted to help, and importantly, people just had no idea of what had been going on with me. I might have thought that it would be obvious, somebody would notice, but no, nobody had any idea. But once it was out there, and once I couldn't avoid it, it was a massive weight off my shoulders. I was actually now sharing what was happening, and I could start to get help. It was still really difficult to talk about, though. And I remember sitting outside the doctor's surgery, and I was convincing myself not to go in. It felt just ridiculous that I could be, say, suffering from depression. There's nothing in my life that you'd say, oh yeah, that's a good reason to be depressed. But deep down, I knew that there was something wrong, and this was the moment to get that help. And I was seeing the right people who would know what to do. And through that, I still had worries. I was worrying what people would think, how they might react or treat me. And I was definitely worried about what the impact would be on my career. I thought this would have quite negative consequences. And was there really going to be any way back once I, say, took some time out and started to recover? And, those things in particular were just that. They were just worries. They were just things I was worried about, but wasn't reflective of the reality. The reality was people just couldn't be more supportive. So today, I'm just so glad that I got that help. And now, I wish that I'd talked to somebody years ago. I wish that I'd done something about this, a long time ago. Because, not only do I realise what a positive effect that would have had on me and my life, but also my family in particular. I realise now just how hard things had been for them, over this time. And that would have made a big difference if I'd have actually, done something about it. So, that kind of brings me back to the question of, why is it important that we talk about mental health? I think there's a lot of different reasons, but there's two I think that stand out to me. And the first one is that, we need people of all backgrounds to be open and share their own mental health stories, because it definitely helps others. If I can use an example, it gave me a huge amount of strength having a colleague that had in the past suffered from depression, had recovered, was now doing, really, really well, and was really open about their experience. So that gave me the kind of courage and the understanding that there was a way back, that this was all going to help, and I was going to be in a much better place as a result. And it helped manage my worries that I said I was having earlier. So I think the more people tell their stories, the more impact that will have. And then the kind of second reason, I guess it's related, but it's that it's still really difficult to do. I was saying about my experiences of, in a lot of those steps, it was difficult to recognise what was happening, and then it was difficult to talk about it. And I think that, the more and more that we talk about things, the easier that that's going to get. I think for it feels to me as though a lot of people get their help when things get to a point where it's just something gives. It's just got too much and it's just unavoidable. Um, and it would be great if we get to that point where because we're talking about things earlier, we understand ourselves a lot better, that we don't get to that point, and perhaps that then we turn that conversation into talking about our mental fitness rather than it being mental illness. So those, I guess that's my story. That's why I think it's important to talk about mental health. Um, I hope that's helped, and I'd certainly love to hear your thoughts about this, and also any experiences that you're happy to share. As I say, I think that kind of thing is just so helpful, and so important.